2024 has almost come to an end, but it was an absolute banger year for free-to-play titles. From high-profile AAA style games to some hidden indie gems, this year had so much variety. So today I thought now is the perfect time to take a trip down the memory lane, break it down month by month, highlighting some of the best free-to-play gems that dropped in 2024. So whether you're into like shooter games, strategy games, action games, adventure games, or something totally off the wall, there is something in here for everyone. So we got a lot to talk about. So no more wasting time. Let's get right into it. 2024 already started with some pretty banger titles, especially with the release of games like The Finals. It was a massive success at launch and had a close to like 300,000 people playing at the moment. Even though the popularity is kind of declined over time, still had to be one of the best free-to-play first-person shooters on the market. Then we also had some pretty solid indie titles like The One Arm Robber, really cool, really fun co-op game to play with your friends. Then we also had some popular releases like the games like Lego Fortnite and Rocket Racing, and they all kind of release as separate game modes on top of Fortnite, and they're all actually pretty fun to play. During the first quarter of 2024, we didn't really get like the high profile free-to-play releases, but we got some pretty cool indie titles. Especially in January, we got games like Cryptis, awesome fast-paced first-person boomer shooter with a retro art style. And also if you're into like 2D platformer games, we got brand new games like Counterpact. And also when it comes to some bigger titles, we got games like The Summoner So, extremely popular strategy RPG style of game, and still to this day the game is very much popular on Steam, having more than 10,000 people playing. Alright, then came February, also packed with some pretty cool indie titles. On top of that, we also got some notable titles like Hawked, an early access third-person looter shooter style of a game, but honestly the game didn't really do that well in terms of popularity, the player count, or overall Steam reviews. And other than that, we also got games like Soak and Splash, an awesome co-op party style of a game. And one of my favorite single-player indie titles to release in 2024 is the CP A Short Adventure, a super cool, colorful 2D platformer style of a game with a beautiful story, great soundtracks, and something you should absolutely try out if you haven't played it already. Alright, moving on to March, we got a couple of popular, pretty big titles finally got released on Steam for completely free. First one being The Predecessor. It's a third-person multiplayer MOBA shooter. Initially it was available as an early access version. You have to pay to get access, but when the game went free to play, it also came with a pretty big update, and ever since that the game is doing pretty decently on Steam in terms of concurrent player count. And also we got another pretty popular title that finally got released on Steam. Previously it was only available on the Epic Game Store, and the game that I'm talking about is Palia. It's an awesome, colorful, free-to-play live simulation style of a game with a bit of a mix between RPG and survival elements. And ever since the game launched on Steam, it helped you to kind of boost the player count, and still holding on to about 5,000 daily concurrent players. And also we've seen the release of a couple of notable ones like DC 2, awesome horror survival social deduction style of a game. And also we've seen the release of games like Duranko Wanko, extremely cute and colorful single-player game that is all about pets. Alright, moving on to April, we got some pretty solid free-to-play games. We got games like Bendy Secret of the Machine, awesome single-player horror / puzzle solving game. We also got a pretty popular casual first-person shooter game called Pixel Gun 3D, extremely popular game on mobile and finally got released on Steam. And the game was so much fun to play with so many game modes, maps, even a dedicated battle royale mode. Slapshot Rebound is also seen its 1.0 release, a really cool free-to-play casual ice hockey game. And also we've finally seen the long-awaited release of The Sky Children of Light, extremely unique and a cozy puzzle adventure style of a game, very much popular right now on Steam. Alright, moving on to the month of May, we got a pretty big title that was extremely popular at launch, and you guys probably know what I'm talking about, and that is X-Defined. Yes, the game was supposed to come out by the end of 2023, but after delaying multiple times, it finally got released on May 2024. Even though initial release was a massive success, we all know what happened to X-Defined now. Unfortunately, Ubisoft announced the game will be shutting down June 2025, so you have about a few months of time to play the game actually, which is very unfortunate. And other than X-Defined, we haven't really got any major titles. We got pretty cool indie games like The Work Cleaner, extremely popular on Steam, having overwhelmingly positive reviews. And another game that came out was Indigo Park Chapter 1, a really cool adventure and a horror style of a game that is definitely worth checking it out. Alright, now we are moving on to some of the biggest months we had, June, July and August, and we got number of insanely good free games that came out during this period. In June, we got games like Screwdriver, a really fun physics-based driving simulation game, extremely fun to play with your friends. And also we got Nightmare Card, a Souls-like vehicular combat style of a game with a gothic art style. I personally didn't really like it much, but a lot of people seem to love this game on Steam, so I can't really argue with that. And we also got a pretty cool party/social deduction style of a game called Sneak Out. This is a really cool game to play with friends, and highly recommend you guys to give it a try on this one. And we also got another free-to-play title from Ubisoft, and that is Battle Co Arena. It's a free-to-play competitive platformer shooter style of a game, but a lot of people didn't really knew about the game or like the game. Right now it's completely dead. And other than that, we got one of the major releases of 2024, and that is a game called Dark and Darker. Awesome fantasy first-person dungeon crawler with both PvP and PvE elements. Really solid game to play right now. Very popular, having close to like 10,000 daily concurrent players. Alright, moving on to July, we got a pretty surprising release, and that is Enlisted. Couple of years ago, this game released on their official website, which was really hard for a lot of people to find the game. But when the game finally launched on Steam, it's kind of blew up in popularity and the overall play count, because it's one of the only few good free-to-play World War II shooters out there, and I would say it's definitely worth checking out in 2024. And other than Enlisted, we got 3 big brand new games came out in June. And first one is the Dungeonborn, awesome first-person dungeon extraction style of a game. And also the First Descendant, one of the most popular free-to-play looter shooter games to came out in 2024. And finally we got Once Human, absolutely one of the best survival games to came out in a long time, especially on the free-to-play market. And right now I would say it's the second most popular games to came out in 2024. Alright, moving on to August, the month is absolutely packed with some incredible free games, including some high caliber AAA style of games to some hidden indie gems. Hands down one of the best months we had so far. First we got the early access version of Arena Breakout Infinite, one of the most anticipated tactical first-person looter shooter games, very similar to a popular extraction shooter like Escape from Tarkov, but being completely free to play. The game is still on early access. The only way to download the game is through a direct launcher from their website, but I'm hoping the Steam release will be coming out pretty soon. If you're into more like real-time strategy style of games, we got another pretty notable one that released on early access, and that is Stormgate. It was a pretty solid game, but honestly it didn't really do that well in terms of popularity and the overall Steam reviews. Swords of Convalaria is one of the coolest looking fantasy strategy-based JRPG games that came out in 2024. It is definitely not my type of game, but it's very much popular on Steam right now. And we also got a pretty underrated vehicular destruction/racing style of a game called Warhammer 40,000 Speed Freaks. Definitely one of the coolest looking free-to-play games to came out from the Warhammer 40k universe, but unfortunately I don't think people give enough credit for a game like this. And finally on August we got another pretty major title, and that is one of the best simulation games to came out in 2024, and I'm talking about Supermarket Together. At the start people didn't really knew about the game much, but after playing for a few hours, a lot of people kind of fall in love with the game, including myself, because the game mechanics are so much fun, especially if you have friends to play with. Definitely give it a try on this one. It is hands down one of the best games to came out in 2024. Alright, then came the month of September. We only got like very few notable ones, and first of all we got games like Vigor, a relatively popular third-person extraction shooter, and previously the game was only available on the console platforms, but we finally seen a PC release, but unfortunately the game didn't really do that well. Right now having mixed reviews on Steam. We also got a pretty cool casual racing battle royale style of a game called Fast Penguin, and the game was definitely targeted towards more of a younger audience, I would say. And finally we got a pretty big first-person shooter that came out, and that is Spectre Divide, a free-to-play 5v5 tactical first-person shooter with some cool and unique in-game mechanics. And the game had a pretty successful launch, had about 30,000 people playing, but unfortunately the popularity is kind of declined over time, and right now it's only have about 200 people playing. October was another pretty big month. We got some demanding games like the Off the Grid early access version, released on both PC and consoles. It's a third-person futuristic sci-fi battle royale and extraction shooter, but after the initial hype the game is kind of died down in popularity. And remember, the game is only available on Epic Games Store if you decide to play the game on PC. One of the biggest MMORPG games to came out in 2024 is none other than Throne and Liberty. Despite having mixed reviews on Steam, the game is very much popular right now, having more than 62,000 people playing, but the game does not available in certain regions, which is kind of a bummer. And we finally see the official release of the game called Bloodstrike, a very fun casual Call of Duty style first-person shooter for low-end PCs. And other than that, we also got a pretty cool collection of smaller scale indie titles. The games like Harbinger, a really cool arena style boomer shooter that I enjoy. Peace Apocalypse, another pretty cool platformer game that is worth playing. And finally we got Reverse 1999, an awesome looking visual novel style of RPG game that is right now having overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam. Last month, November, is another pretty big month. At the start of the month, we get games like Maximum Football, awesome American football simulation style of a game if you're into that. Patrikios, another brand new, a relatively popular MMORPG style of a game. And we also got games like Strinova, a third-person tactical anime shooter with some unique gameplay mechanics, and the game is relatively popular right now, having close to like 13,000 people playing. And also if you're into like MOBA style games like League of Legends and Dota 2, we got a brand new game called Supervive, a pretty cool free-to-play game that kind of a match between a battle royale and a MOBA shooter. Finally, we are moving on to this month, December, arguably the best month we had so far in terms of high quality, high profile free-to-play game releases. I already covered all of these games in one of my previous videos, so I'm going to quickly mention them. First one, we got UFL, a free-to-play football simulation game that very recently came out, and right now it's only available for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. And this is one of the best free-to-play alternative we got right now, especially if you're tired of buying EFC games every single year. Next up, we got Infinity Nikki, a pretty cool, cozy, open world exploration type of a game that is all about finding different costumes for this character called Nikki. This game may not be for everyone, but right now the game is very much popular. On PC, it's only available on Epic Game Store. Alright, next up we got Delta Force, one of the best and the most anticipated free-to-play first-person shooter games to came out in 2024. Right now the game is very much popular on Steam, having close to like 100,000 people playing. If you're into more like large-scale Battlefield style of games, or if you want to try out this extraction mode, Delta Force is definitely worth checking out right now, and the console version, the console release will be coming out in early 2025. And finally, we got the biggest free-to-play game to came out in 2024, and it is none other than Marvel Rivals. Extremely popular third-person hero shooter, very similar to a game like Overwatch in terms of gameplay, the game modes, but the game is packed with some amazing characters from the Marvel universe. If you're into hero shooters, man, it is absolutely worth checking out right now. A very popular free-to-play game on Steam right now, having more than 400,000 people playing at the moment. And also worth mentioning, Warframe finally got its biggest expansion ever. The Warframe 1999 update just dropped a few days ago. Definitely worth checking out. And we also got a few other interesting games that came out during this month so far, which I'm probably going to cover by the end of this month, so definitely stay tuned for that as well. And finally, I hope this video helped you to find some awesome hidden free-to-play games that you might have missed over the last few months. And if this video helpful to you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and stay tuned to the channel as we cover pretty much all the brand new games coming out on every single month. I'll catch you guys soon in the next one. Stay safe.